You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is September the 24th, 2018. With you today is myself, Carl, and the always wonderful Joel. Welcome to the second last episode before hockey is back. You ready for a gritty Monday?
A gritty Monday?
Yeah.
No, I've had the grittiest of Mondays in the last 3 days, so I would prefer more of a pillowy Monday evening.
Okay. We can, unfortunately for you, Pillowy was not a mascot unveiled by an NHL team today. I'm sure in due time we'll get one whose name is Pillowy. Probably when Seattle gets a team and they call it the Seattle Bedtimes, and they just call Pillowy, and everyone sleeps.
Dude, that would it's like the team, if they call them the Seattle Bedtimes, like they would be like fighting against that movie. What's that movie? It's the Tom Hanks movie, isn't it?
Castaway.
Not Castaway. The Seattle one. What's the
Seattle?
Sleepless
in Seattle.
See, I was like, it has to do with sleep. It's
yeah. That has nothing to do with Castaway. That's true. That's how you
Castaway. that's where you go. That Tom Hanks movie from Seattle, Castaway. Wasn't that in Tennessee or something like that?
I don't know. I don't know where he lived. I think the most of the movie did not take place in Tennessee, though.
Right,
I believe.
But I seem to remember they showed a clip of remember when the Titans almost won the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
By a foot? I thought that was a part of the movie, something that he learned about after he came back.
It could have been.
It's a better mascot than Gritty?
Almost anyone.
Wilson.
Ooh, I guess because then you could throw Wilson through the stands, right? You just show up with a volleyball. They usually wouldn't let you in the door, but if you call it a mascot, you're set.
I love that I found the one thing that you're not sure is actually better or worse. You were there's pretty much anything worse or better than this new mascot, but a volleyball with a blood handprint is not one of those things that's better.
It seems like a health code. As much as Gritty seems like a health code violation, so does a bloody volleyball also sound like one. So
what if it's just paint? It's not actually blood.
Then we could probably get around that. It's a trend that NHL teams seem to have. They keep bringing these mascots in when they don't have one, and it's terrible. It's like the Oilers with their Lynx Hunter. That was terrifying.
Do they still have it?
Yeah. Whatever that the Gila Monster Chance for the Golden Knights.
Yeah, but that makes sense. It's a dragon. Isn't it?
Is that what a Gila Monster is?
I don't know.
I know this. I know it's a Gila Monster because that's what they describe it. I think it's just like a lizard, though. I don't think it's... I think it's just like a Nevada lizard.
I thought it was I thought they were because, okay, that's so much worse. They should have gone with a dragon. I always thought it was a dragon.
Nope.
And then it'd be then you have a knight that fights the dragon.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense?
Which would make sense, but they didn't.
Hockey mascots do not make sense.
Virtually none of them do. I get, the Leafs, you have a polar bear. That doesn't make sense. It fits at least with ice, right? It has nothing to do with Leafs.
I guess.
It's probably better than a giant maple leaf. Which, for some unbeknownst reason, is blue.
Wouldn't you go, just a beaver? Or a moose? Or an elk? That would be... To me, that would make more sense than a polar bear. I guess the polar bear's on that... What corn is it on?
The toonie.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make you say toonie because, like, the American, like those U.S. people that are now listening, that are now not
that are currently turning off. Yes, them.
They got, like, we have had this conversation with our U.S. friends before, and they think the fact that we have something called a toonie is ridiculous. So.
And also fake.
And also not real.
Yeah. The amount of things that they don't believe about Canada is large. So yeah, that happened today. We got to wake up as if Mondays weren't bad enough. The Philadelphia Flyers decided to gift us with Gritty, who's at the game tonight. He's going to be making his preseason debut.
So like they didn't debut him at the beginning of the preseason? Is this their first home game?
You think I know a lot more about Flyers preseason than I do.
I'm just curious. Hey, you brought it up. I would
assume I would assume that this is not their first preseason game.
Their first preseason home game, maybe? Because, like, why are you, like...
They played 4 games already.
Why would you bring it up, like, partway through? Wouldn't you, like, either do it at the beginning of the regular season or the beginning of the preseason? Why partway through the preseason?
I don't know. It's not even... if they had waited till Thursday, it would have been their last home game of the preseason. That one would have made sense too, but all that said, we have a new mascot, and I think that's about as much mascot content as an audio-only podcast can handle. What do you think?
I don't know. I wanted to go a little deeper into this, but I also pretty sure we have about 30 teams that we have to talk about tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna get into some previews. We're also gonna talk. Someone got suspended this week. We'll touch on that briefly. Before we get into that, the Alberta Podcast Network is very excited to be able to partner with Back to School Again, a podcast about people who made the decision in midlife to return to school, to pursue a new type of career, to augment their current career, or just the sheer challenge of learning something new. This show chronicles the personal journey of host Katrina Ingram, who is back to school after more than 2 decades away. And as someone who has returned to school myself, this is a good show to tune into and find out what it's like to be me. If you're ever wondering, what's it like for Carl to be back in school? Tune into Back to School Again and just assume that me and Katrina feel exactly the same.
But, like, just don't just do that. You gotta put on a mustache.
Okay. Yep.
You gotta put on a plaid shirt.
Yep.
Gotta eat some avocado toast.
Never.
Yeah, I don't know if have we ever actually talked about how you're a hipster? I don't think we've talked about that on the show.
I barely can handle guacamole, let alone just avocado.
I'm pretty sure we're saying that, like, super poorly.
Which one, avocado or guacamole?
Because I'm pretty sure I think it's more like avocado.
What did I say?
I think we both said avocado.
And it's avocado?
I think so.
Okay. I'm okay being wrong about my... See, that's how little I eat avocado. Now I'm gonna just say it's super weird all the time.
I don't believe you, because you are the most hipster person I know.
That's not true.
It's
okay. Yes,
we're gonna kangaroo court this bad boy one day.
Okay, like, do you want to save that for number 200 next week?
That might not be a bad idea, because that's a big deal.
Yeah. Maybe we'll try to wrangle up a third party to try to settle this as well. Maybe that's a thing we could do for 200. Maybe Joel's... Because here's the thing. We both know you're going to argue I am a hipster. I'm going to argue I'm not a hipster.
So we need a judge.
We need a judge. Yeah.
No, you don't get to judge at all. You're like...
But you're the accuser. You also don't get to judge.
No,
Obviously,
I do.
Right.
I get to judge a little bit. I get some say, because I'm not a part of it. It's just you that's being...
Well, don't forget, backtoschoolagain.ca. That's where you can go to find out more about the Back to School Again podcast. We'll settle... Yeah, that's a debate that will probably get settled next week.
I don't think it will, because...
Well, it won't get settled. It'll get brought up again next week?
Maybe. I don't know. Because, like, it'll be ruled in my favor, and then you'll just be like, I deny this.
Well, if there's someone else that's not you, I've heard your takes, and I know why I think they're wrong. However,
I'm already rounding up the person.
Okay. Well, while Joel's busy finding a third party of his choice, let's talk Max Domi. He got suspended this week for the entire preseason. For his
Wow, that's so terrible.
Right? Like just a solid punishment for punching someone in the face. So do you think that his punch on Aaron Ekblad deserving of suspension? Yes or no?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I agree. It's, a guy who's standing there. Sure, were they pushing and shoving? Yes. Was he punching? No. And there's a lot of I'd say old school people and Montreal fans who think that it's okay to punch someone. If you start with some pushing and shoving and it escalates to punches, it's okay to be the first one to throw the blow, even if the other guy doesn't throw any blows.
How many did he just punch once, or was it like one punch, multiple punches?
It's kind of like some jabs, like just like some pushes and then like one big one.
So, but like he threw a couple like punches first, not super big ones, but Ekblad didn't respond, and then there was one big one.
Yeah. I don't really have much, Max Domi, I think a lot of people, when he came up, was like, oh, look, he's not his dad. Because that's what everyone knew him as, right? They're like, oh, that's, Ty Domi's kid. And then turns out not that far from the tree. Maybe a little far, but not too far.
Yeah. I would like to also point out the old school thinkers who think that Ekblad should have not been punched in the face are wrong. In the sense, like there's literally arguments out there of people saying it's Ekblad's fault
because he didn't defend himself.
So therefore it's his own fault for getting punched in the face.
Those people can go away.
I don't even know where to start with how wrong that argument is.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels that could be made. And we'll leave the parallel making for others. However, yeah, that's idiotic, and almost as idiotic as the suspension. Preseason,
it might just be. They're both on par.
Yeah, preseason games mean nothing.
People are actually like talking about how because how he might even actually be happy about this. Because now he doesn't have to play in preseason meaningless games and potentially get hurt. He doesn't lose any money. There's no money involved in the losses here.
Yeah, he literally just here's a little extended time off.
It's crazy.
Even
crazy.
Like most veterans, I would put him in the camp of guys that would probably play 2 or 3 preseason games anyways, even though he's new to the team. He might play, a little bit more, but yeah, it's idiotic. What would you have given him regular season? Because obviously he should have gotten some regular season. I would have put him at knowing what the NHL does. I assume he would have gotten 1, but I would have given him 4.
I was gonna say what would I have given him, or what would a realistic regular season suspension been?
Both.
So those are two very. I would have. I expected 1 game.
Yeah.
I would have been content with 7-ish. I'm not a super big fan of punching people in the face who don't want to fight.
It's not, it shouldn't be a hot take, right?
That's the thing. If you say it like that, it sounds crazy that he got 0 penalty.
Right.
It's hey, he punched someone in the face who wasn't really expecting it, / was clearly not going to fight with him. So
and didn't want to get punched in the face and didn't deserve to be punched in the face.
Basically, the NHL is saying you have to fight, or we're gonna let guys punch you in the face. Because now, like, what is Max Domi do? He's like, oh hey, I can punch someone in the face, and it doesn't really matter whether they want to fight me or not. I can just cold cock someone.
Yeah, real classy.
Where did that phrase come from? I'm gonna search it. Is it cold clock? That's
what you said.
Is that what I said? I don't know what I said. I
believe so, yeah. You can look that up. Let's get into the meat of the show.
No, it's cold cock, not cold clock.
Okay. What does that mean?
Typically a blow to the head when you knock someone out.
Okay. And there's no origin.
No. That's that's not even like Urban Dictionary. That's just like Google Dictionary.
Like Merriam-Webster has it in there. Not a cold clock. A cold clock would be if you leave it outside.
Yeah,
it also wouldn't work.
Yeah, this is Merriam-Webster.
Yeah. First known use was 1918. That's
there you go.
We know. Well, maybe if as the show goes, if you know the reason, tweet at us at Fourth Line Podcast. We'd love to know. What we're doing today is we're going to try to preview as much of the league as possible. We're probably only going to get through the Eastern Conference, saving the Western Conference for next week. If we get through all of it, perfect. We don't want to give you a giant show. And this is, the audio. If you want a written version, our writers have been doing this series, and we've had some fantastic guests at the fourthlinepodcast.com. And obviously, we're going to be doing it differently. They've been having to write a preview with the same amount of words as the team had points the previous season. And this coming week, we're going to be releasing the Atlantic, and I've seen most of them already. We're about halfway done. Half the submissions are in. It is very difficult with the amount of things. We'll talk about the Sabres here shortly. The amount of changes the Sabres had to be able to fit that into 62 words as a preview, not easy.
Maybe that team shouldn't be bad then.
Well, I think they'll probably get a few more if we do the same format next year. I think they'll get more than 62 words, but we'll get to that. We'll get there. Do you want to start with the Atlantic? That's your Leafs. You're wearing your Leafs hoodie. You've got your Raptors hat on. You are ready to rep the six, as the kids say.
As the kids say. Yeah, I'm good to go wherever, man. I'll go wherever.
All right, let's start in the Atlantic Division. Tampa Bay won it last year.
Boo.
Last week you said they are your pick to win the Stanley Cup.
It better be, man. They don't win a Stanley Cup, blow it up. This is the year. They kind of messed up by not getting Karlsson. Because, come on, Tampa. You could have given up what San Jose gave up. You probably could have done better than that.
Probably, yeah. That was, they have the picks. They have the pieces.
They could have gotten Karlsson without even having to give up Sergachev.
Oh, for sure. They're comparable to Chris Tierney and the defenseman whose name is slipping my mind right now would be here's Slater Kokic and Cedric Paquette. Enjoy.
Yeah. But seriously, if they had said if they had offered Cal Foote a first and a second, that's better than what San Jose gave, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Not even really that close.
The prospects are better and the picks are the same. So and you want prospects at this point. You don't really need Chris Tierney. So
why didn't the Tampa people do that?
Well, we know the condition on San Jose's pick. It goes, there's those conditional picks that if he gets traded to the East, they owe them. So the price tag was significantly higher for teams in the Eastern Conference. And I'm not sure how much it even became a conversation, but the price tag was higher for teams in the East than teams in the West. And I think that's part of the reason, because Ottawa is crazy. We've touched on the fact that it's idiotic to think that you should hold them back, but I think that's a starting point.
Like what? Are they going to... Is Ottawa worried about having to fight with Tampa for the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, this year they're very concerned.
Because, So I think Tampa will win the Stanley Cup because because they're really good. And that's all I really have to say about that.
In thinking about it, they are my favorite in the East. And simply because, they did well for themselves last year. They're essentially the same team coming in as they were last year. The core pieces are all still there. And I think you give some of their young guys, like Sergachev, like their 24-year-old starting goalie, you give them a little bit more time, and you're going to do well for yourself. So, yeah, I would join you in picking them. I would and will join you in picking them as my Stanley Cup favorite. And honestly, they're good for a reason. They did well last year for a reason, won this division, a tough division at the top, the bottom half, not so much, but, and I think this division is going to get tighter this year, obviously. Boston finished second last year, and this is a team that I know a lot of people were coming into last year, weren't sure where they would be, and we saw, they're young guys. A team that, for as bad as Boston has drafted in the past, they've done an incredible job in restocking on the fly, right? Bringing Pasternak in, having the likes of Charlie McAvoy come in, Brandon Carlo. These are pieces that have been added that they don't need to worry about. So you've got that. You've got a shockingly expensive Yaroslav Halak backing him up, Tuukka Rask. Aside from that, again, a team that really didn't have the flexibility to make a ton of moves this offseason.
Let me talk to you about this team. Let me break it down for you. This is a team that needed to do something this offseason, and they didn't. They needed to do something to make themselves better. And they just didn't. It's just, they're a one-line team, which is a phenomenal one-line, but I don't think they may even make it a round or two in the playoffs, but it's just not deep. They are built to do well in the regular season. Is this team built to do well in the playoffs though?
I don't think so. Well, we saw it, right? That's the reason that they fell apart last year, was exactly what you're talking about. If you shut down the one line, as Tampa did, it's over.
Or just say, hey, as long as our one line needs to come a little bit less than your one line, and then we need to have a second and third line that will just bump up the difference.
Right. You have some depth.
Which is not going to be difficult for a team like Tampa, a team like Washington, a team like Pittsburgh. These teams are built to, they have more depth that I just don't see Boston. Boston needed to do something. They needed, as much as, and they didn't have the cap space to really do this, but they really, they needed to find, they needed a guy like Tavares, or they needed, even a James Neal would have been. That's what I was thinking.
If they had even a James Neal kind.
And, I wouldn't have loved it, because, any deal that James Neal was going to sign, I wasn't really going to like. But, at least your second line is, Krejci, Neal, Backes. That's not great, but it's not terrible. I feel like that can carry you a little bit.
Yeah. It's good enough.
This team just had a super underwhelming offseason. They're probably going to make the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a wild card team this year, though, not a division. But
I would still I'd slot them in third in this division. behind Tampa and Toronto. But
you're right. The rest of the division's awful. You're right. Those three, like if this team was in the Metro, like if Boston was in the Metro, it'd be a wild card. But Florida's not overtaking them.
Florida got better, but not. I don't trust having Roberto Luongo as your goaltender to be like, let's get better this year with Roberto Luongo.
What about Optimus Rhyme, man?
Also not him. I love me some James Reimer as a person. As the starting goaltender of my hockey team, less so.
Yeah, do you want to go there next?
Sure, let's go to Florida. This is a team that, the biggest move to me they made in the offseason was the Mike Hoffman trade where they stole him from San Jose. Relatively speaking, San Jose obviously made out like gangbusters in that deal too. And this is a team, you talk about depth. Florida is a team with limited superstars, but quality depth. And you have Ekblad, you have Yandel on defense, you've got, some medium pieces there. And then up front, two solid lines. But literally for me, this team falls apart when you have the fact that Roberto Luongo, who, did well for himself, the best 38-year-old, 39-year-old goaltender in the league last year, but still was only able to play 35 games. And that's a problem.
Yeah, this team is gonna, they've got, it's so weird. They have, a lot of young guys, and then they have, a handful of, just, super old guys. Well, I guess they have two super old guys. As much as, Luongo's not aging well, I don't think Yandel's gonna age well. That deal's not gonna...
Was that your second super old guy, was 32-year-old Keith Yandel?
He just feels way older than that, man. They also got they have a 37-year-old.
Yeah, they do. Former captain Derek McKenzie, clocking in at 37.
This is not, great, but, Troy Brouwer, they have a bunch of guys who, feel old. Maybe their, age isn't 38, but, they play old.
Their backside of their career, significant backside.
Yeah, they're playing, they're on the back nine, but they're on, 17.
Right.
That's...
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. They got Mike Hoffman for basically nothing, but it's yet to be determined if he's a decent human being. I don't know. Seemed he left Ottawa on tenuous circumstances.
It's more of his girlfriend who's... I
guess. But you got if he's willing to date her and she's not a very nice person.
True.
Yeah, it's like being wow, this is my girlfriend now. Well, then maybe you should not spend time with her because she seems like a not nice person. But because that's why they stole him,
right? Yeah, because no one the issues with them and the Carlsons.
I don't know. It's just this is a weird team. They just have a lot of guys that is this the overrated underrated team? It's you got a handful of guys that are overrated and a handful of guys that are underrated.
And you put them all together and they're a fringe playoff team.
Yeah. Because, I think, Ekblad's getting to the point where I think he's being considered a bit overrated, or maybe he's not living up to the potential that everyone thinks he is. He's still really young, though, so yet to be determined.
Yeah, I would say you look at those likes and anyone on this team is not going to get the attention that they would otherwise because they're in Florida, right? And whether
except Barkov.
Well, I even say Barkov is he's getting to that point where he's there, but even him, up until probably this offseason, wasn't getting as much credit as he deserved.
Yeah, but now he might be getting more credit than he deserves. This guy, Barkov is the darling of the offseason. The amount of times that I have seen people been man, Barkov's underrated. You say a guy's underrated enough times, and then he starts to become overrated. Or at least rated properly. I don't view Barkov as an underrated guy anymore. He's got a really, He's got a really good contract. He's a really good player, but he's not like this like secret where he's just like this magical player. He's a good player. He's like, his contract's not like Nathan McKinnon's. Let's not kid ourselves here, people.
Well, his contract is comparable to Nathan McKinnon's, but his play is not.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, Nathan McKinnon's contract is the best contract in the NHL. Barkov's is not. You're welcome, Carl. This is not the Colorado Avalanche saying that, fan saying that. It is the Toronto Maple Leafs fan saying that. So it's not even a homer.
Thank you.
But
thank you for saying it so I didn't have to. I would have said it anyways, but
it's true. But it wouldn't have meant anything coming from me. But like,
it's fair.
Barkov's isn't. I don't think it's at that level.
Yeah. Well, he's about there.
Playoff team or not?
I'd say wild card.
I say no.
Okay. Who else is in this division that we haven't touched on? There's a lot of really bad teams. Let's go Detroit. Henrik Zetterberg's gone. Everyone's gone.
I thought Henrik Zetterberg wasn't gone.
Well, he's retired. He's on long-term IR. He's not playing this year, Joel.
Oh, okay. They're the worst team in the league?
I don't.
It's Ottawa. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, they're not even the worst team in this division.
They might be the second worst team in the league.
I would put them pretty close, yeah. They, didn't add anyone that gets you excited. Mike Green looks like he's going to be starting the year out, and not entirely sure when he'll be back. Sounds pretty long-term for him there. It's a good season to hold a jersey retirement ceremony for Pavel Datsyuk. And then next year, hold one for Henrik Zetterberg. And then, can you retire a jersey of a guy who's on your long-term IR?
No, they got to wait till 2028 to retire Zetterberg's jersey. That's when the contract runs out.
Okay, noted. Put that in your calendar, folks. 2028, January of 2028.
It'll be the same year that he doesn't make the Hall of Fame.
Montreal. So if Detroit's second worst, Ottawa's the worst. Where are you putting Montreal in this division?
Yeah.
Because we've got them and the Sabres left.
Oh man, they're so bad. They're all so bad. Because I want to put all of them at the bottom. They're such bad teams. I don't think Buffalo's not as bad as they were last year. It's pretty tough to be worse than that. Or it's pretty tough to be that bad. But prove it to me, Buffalo. Prove it to me that you're better than what you were last year. I want to believe it. Because everyone talks about the additions that they made, but Buffalo also they lost Ryan O'Reilly. So they did lose at least one. I don't know who else.
That's a very significant piece that they lost.
That's not whatever you like Ryan O'Reilly, whatever you like about him or not. He's a good centerman. Good centerman.
Exactly.
So that's a news. And so I don't know. I think Buffalo's better than Montreal. I'm not convinced they are. I would probably if you're if I'm ordering it, I'm going to go Ottawa, whatever team we just talked about. What team did we just talk about? Detroit, that's the one. I was going to say Florida, and I was like, nope, not them. I feel Ottawa, Detroit. It's probably Montreal than Buffalo, but would it shock me if it was Ottawa's the last? Ottawa's going to be...
Ottawa's at the bottom.
Ottawa's going to be awful. But would it shock me if it was Ottawa, Montreal, Buffalo, Detroit? Probably not. It might. I don't know. Detroit's pretty bad. But they have Detroit's got a couple of good guys. It's crazy. It's just
the thing is someone has to get points from those games.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Someone's going to be winning. They play those teams, 5-6 times a season. It's going to be happening that someone's going to win those games, and someone's going to look not entirely terrible. And for me, I'm with you with Buffalo. I want to like them. Obviously, they add Dahlin, and we'll see what he can do as the season gets started. They added Carter Hutton, lost Robin Lehner, added Jeff Skinner, lost Ryan O'Reilly. honestly, unless Dahlin is like significantly better, and they added, what the pieces they got back for Ryan O'Reilly are not insignificant, but they're not Ryan O'Reilly, right? They added depth to this team, with Berglund, Sabaka.
Dude, this team has 3 first-round picks next year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's they're going to do well for themselves into the future. But I don't think this is the year. Well, I don't think it's the year they return, and I'm torn because if you're telling me the difference between these two teams is like Carter Hutton versus Carey Price is not big name, bold letters Carey Price anymore, but I trust him a lot more than I do Carter Hutton and Linus Ullmark.
So can I just talk about this condition, and I don't know how it came to be?
Yeah.
So I don't know how, because I don't understand Buffalo's involvement in this. So if the Sharks don't make the playoffs in 2019, the Senators receive the 2019 first. But if the Sharks make the playoffs, Buffalo receives the 2019 first, and the Sens receive the Sharks 2020 first instead. So there must have been some sort of provision. Oh yeah, because they gave up a first. The Evander Kane. So they gave up a first. So but I don't get. So like they must have. So like what happens?
Okay, if you go down, assuming you're on the same website as me, you go down. It becomes when the Sharks re-signed Evander Kane, the pick became a first rounder.
Right.
Then, if the Sharks miss the playoffs, they have the option to retain the pick this year and give Buffalo next year's pick. So it's like a weird lottery protection. But San Jose is also not missing the playoffs, so that becomes irrelevant.
Yeah, it does. So like, but it's just, I was like, it's just a weird provision. But like this Buffalo team in like 3 years is going to be really good, I think.
Yes,
like
for
really
sure.
Good. They might be good. Like they're probably going to be good before that. But like I think in 3 years they're going to be like really good.
Because you add, these picks, they have St. Louis's pick, they have San Jose's pick, they have their own pick. Their own pick probably going to be somewhere in the lottery. So maybe, a top 10 pick there, a couple picks in the teens, the 20s from the other two. Those are solid depth pieces. You scout well, you draft well. You can find very, very talented players there, obviously. So, definitely looking for a big season from them.
But they're not a playoff team.
No, not yet. So there we go. So I think consensus, I have Florida in, you don't.
No.
Tampa, Boston, Toronto in, and the other 4 teams out, with Ottawa being the worst.
Yeah. You want to talk about Montreal at all?
So they'll have Max Domi for opening night because he's not suspended.
They'll have Carey Price.
They'll have Paul Byron for another 4 seasons.
Come on now, ridiculous.
This is you wanted to get upset about giving Blake Wheeler a contract before you needed to.
I'm not saying I like this. Probably
it's just do not say that.
You don't know what I was gonna say.
Okay, fine, say it so I can tell you're wrong.
Okay, it's probably worse than the Blake Wheeler contract, but it's not much.
Okay, fine. We can agree. I won't argue you on that point, at least. I don't know. Well, like Montreal in a very similar situation as last year, just worse. They now have more of an issue trying to figure out who's going to be at center. In his suspended game, Max Domi did start at center with Jonathan Drouin on his wing, and with no real plan moving forward. They traded Max Pacioretty and did not get back a center. I don't know who's going to take face-offs for this team. I don't know who's going to play that position, but it's only gotten worse this offseason. And when you say, here's my number one weakness, and you go through the offseason and don't fix it, you goofed.
It's hard to fix center, though.
It's not that you can sign some depth guys to bigger... You can sign guys to Paul Byron-esque contracts, and they'll come play for you.
It's not good, though. They could go... Has Nick Shore signed a PTO yet?
No.
Like, he's probably better than at least two of their centers.
Yep.
Philip Deneau. Is that the guy? Is that how you say that guy's name?
Mm-hmm.
Bet you Nick Shore is better than him.
Yes.
So
yeah, like there were players out there that you could have gone and signed, and they didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Is that everyone?
Yeah, that's the Atlantic. Let's head to the Metro.
Whoa.
Okay.
You don't want to talk about my Toronto Maple Leafs a little bit?
They signed John Tavares. They don't have William Nylander. Let's talk about contracts.
How worried would you be if you were me about William Nylander?
Like a 7.
Really? Oh man, I should get a lot more worried.
Yeah, but I worry a lot more than you do, so...
Granted, I'm like a 3.
Well, there you go. We average out to a 5, which is probably...
Because, like, realistically, this is my thinking. Tell me if I'm wrong. So, it's fairly well known that the guy, like, the later guy... Like, when guys start missing, like, actual money, that they tend to sign decently quick. Like, Jonathan Gaudreau. And they tend to sign for, like, reasonable deals.
Yeah, because they're not prorating a deal for the extension. You can't do that when you have the same cap hit across, right? That's not a thing. So
yeah, so you're losing money, and there's nothing that is saying that this situation is like people aren't upset here. I don't think it's gotten to that point yet. Like you don't hear. There's no one.
This is not Ryan O'Reilly, Colorado situation.
Yeah, no one's slinging mud. I would be worried if people were slinging mud. The other thing is that like social media wise, Nylander's still being like, Leafs are my boys, and he loves Mitch and Austin, and he'll love Johnny.
Does he still play Fortnite with the boys?
I'm assuming so. Those guys are the boys, so like they probably all do that stuff still. But like, I'm not super worried. I think he's gonna get signed by 6 by 6.5 or something like that. We'll all be happy. He'll play. He'll score a lot of goals. Be a good little player. 60, 70 points a year.
Because to me, worst case scenario is probably the O'Reilly situation. And even that, like, then you just have someone that you're like, all right, we have to trade him at some point now. Where like you wait so long that someone signs him to like, you're far enough into the year that cap space starts to free up. Someone actually signs him with just a short offer sheet because it's better than not playing at all.
Yeah, and they would match it. And then, like, Nylander's a good enough player that if they had to trade him, they'd get something for him. I would hope. I would think they could. So I'm not too worried about it. I think this team finishes second in the Atlantic.
Yeah, first or second for me. I'd probably go second, seeing as how I have the other team winning the cup.
Yeah. Like, notice how, like, I think, like, in the previous years, like, we've tried to, like, do a little bit of, like, tease it a little bit and wait till, like, the actual season preview to be like, here's our cup winner. This year we're just like, nope. Let's just say it because we all think it.
Yeah. Now are we ready to go to the Metro?
Okay, I'm good. That wasn't too much, was it? We talked more about like the Panthers than the Leafs. We talked
probably the least about any team except for the Sens, who just laughed at. Let's go. Metro was won last year by the Washington Capitals, who also won a Stanley Cup.
What?
And they also won back my heart.
Oh, are you a Capitals fan now?
No.
So they didn't win back your heart. Because there was a moment there where you were a Capitals fan over an Avalanche fan. You just didn't want to admit it.
Yeah, but then... No, I was never at that point.
The fact that you didn't deny that immediately
I was trying to find a way to express it, and I just decided to just say no. But this division is very good, up and down. There's two teams, maybe three, that you can look at and say, like, not playoff teams, 100%. And then the rest of them, obviously, the teams that made the playoffs last year didn't really do a whole lot to say, I'm not a playoff team this year. Am I...
No. Yeah, they're all... I think it's going to finish exactly the same as last year in that... Well, no, you've got 4 coming from each. I'm assuming 5 come from the Metro and 3 from the Atlantic again.
Yeah, I said Florida in, and as we're having this conversation, I'm trying to figure who I'm taking out. It might be, I don't know, like it could be any of these teams. Like it could be the fact that the Flyers still don't have goaltending. It could be the fact that Columbus is still, like, you're a Bobrovsky injury away from not having goaltending.
I don't think Washington's missing the playoffs.
Washington,
unless they're literally so drunk that they can't play for the next...
Ovi's still on a bender. Washington and Pittsburgh are my locks in this. And that's not a stretch. That's just a fact, right? And so Washington did nothing of note this offseason. All they did of note was just bring everyone back at foolish deals.
In 2 years' time, it's good that they won the cup, because who really cares now for 10 years?
Yeah, what they did is they just slammed the window shut from 2 years from now. They lost their backup goaltender, who played a significant amount. He was the starter at the start of the playoffs last year, Grubauer off to the Avalanche. But he wouldn't have been getting the net to start this season, right? Like, Holtby took that back firmly, and he would have had to win the net like he did last year when Holtby struggled and Grubauer played well. But 35 games for him is a significant amount, and replacing him with Phoenix Copley is a big question mark. So if you need 35 games out of that backup, it's not good.
Is it a question mark? Because nobody knows who Phoenix Copley is. Like,
yes.
Is that the question mark?
That's the big question mark here. Yeah, he was in what deal was he in? I want to say Kevin Shattenkirk deal.
Huh.
I think that's how he ended up there. I think he came from the Blues. That's what I want to say. Nonetheless.
He came with Kevin Shattenkirk?
I think so.
It's weird. Do you think... Okay. Paul Byron's deal or Tom Wilson's deal? Uh-huh.
Paul Byron is 4 by 3.4.
At 30 years old.
Tom Wilson, 6 times 5.2. At 24 years of age. Jeez.
You know what's sad? It's Paul Byron, because it's not as long.
I think so, yeah. I think that's my biggest reason.
It's like, I get out of this quicker.
Yeah, I can fix that mistake.
I don't know. I don't think, playoff team, my guess is they finish first in the Metro. I don't have a whole lot else to say. They had to re-sign Karlsson. It's not going to look good by the end of it, but for the next 3 or 4 years, it'll be fine. Whatever.
Yeah. And they got out from Brooks Orpik's deal, and now they only have him for $1 million. So good on them for at least finding one way out of a cap situation.
Yeah.
Very similar situation for the Penguins. And somehow, I feel like the Penguins, and maybe because they went out earlier than they usually do, they didn't beat the Capitals, and so this year it's they're out of the memory. But for me, they just feel like almost an afterthought. Am I alone in that?
I don't know.
So that sounds like a yes. This is essentially the same Penguins team. Again, when you're up against the cap year in, year out, this is what happens. You've made your moves, and they'll probably make more deadline deals as they go. But this is a ridiculously deep team. Obviously, when you're shoving the same way when Joel's Leafs are shoving out Austin Matthews and John Tavares as their 1-2 centers, when you're shoving out Malkin and Crosby as your top two, and then you've got the likes of Derek Brassard and whoever else you want as your bottom pairs, it's pretty good.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like you don't love Derek Brassard as a player, but like because like everyone has remembered that like teams have been trying to roll him out as like the number one center on their team for however many years, right? And now they're like, well, what if we play him as our number 3 center? It's like, oh no, I like that.
Yes,
that's much
suddenly
better.
That's great.
So I don't. Does this team live and die on Matt Murray? Like,
yeah, in the same way that any team with one goalie does. But Murray's had much more injury problems, so yeah.
That's probably the bigger thing is that you're actually like, yeah, any goalie can get hurt at any time, but Murray can probably get hurt.
Like Murray
sooner.
probably will get hurt.
Yeah, and this team will win enough. It's just basically, literally, this team is. This is your hey Penguins, listen up. I got your strategy. Make sure Murray's healthy for the playoffs.
That's what they did last year. And he was, and didn't work just enough. It was the Capitals' year. You can't stop Ovi.
I guess that's fine. That's fine then. But like, is that not literally just what you got to do? And Letang, was Letang hurt in the playoffs last year?
I'm trying to remember if he played playoffs. I believe he did.
I never remember. I feel like he's always hurt too.
Yeah, that's a guy that I'm like, yeah, if you get Chris Letang, that's gravy.
Yeah, he played 12 games.
There you go. That's all of them.
It was the year before that he didn't play in the playoffs.
Well,
yeah,
top
the playoff
2?
team. Yeah, they go second.
And then after that, we've got like the log of Philly, Columbus, New Jersey. Which one of those teams do you think is the best this year?
I really want it to be Jersey.
I don't want it to be Jersey. That's who I pick, is New Jersey.
We need a bounce back, Mr. Schneider. We need a bounce back from you. Oh, I like Corey Schneider. Just like him.
Yeah.
I think it's because like I don't like the Canucks, and so I like
fair.
Corey Schneider.
That's fair.
This team is currently got a lot of cap space, and I like that they're like, hey, we were a playoff team with a young team. We want to pay. They'll probably want to pay Taylor Hall.
Yeah,
we're not going to go.
I would advise that.
We're not going to go and blow all the money on a bunch of these. Like, we're not going to go and sign James Neal. Like, that would have been a classic move for a young team, is to go and sign James Neal for 6x6 or whatever, and be like, yeah, like we're a young team. We add him to the mix, and then you're like, no, guys, don't do that. Don't, guys, come on, guys. And then, so this is another team that I was like, man, maybe they should have traded a little bit to go and get Karlsson. It's just like, with how little Karlsson cost, a team like New Jersey, if like they have the cap space, like it would have been perfect. It would have made them like much better team, obviously. But I like that they didn't. I like they didn't do anything crazy though. Like they could have gone out and done something to make this team a lot better, but they didn't go and make like dumb deals as well though, which they could have.
Very much could have. Are you okay? So as you said, you want Corey Schneider to be back. Are you okay with Keith Kincaid being the number 2? Obviously, we know that you have him blocked on Twitter.
No, I'm not okay. That's why they went and signed Eddie Lack though.
That's
they're
not a reason. That's not going to help you. Eddie Lack is not helping any team make the playoffs this year.
No.
I love me some Eddie Lack.
No one that was available to them was helping them make the playoffs. Corey Schneider.
Corey Schneider's who's helping them make the playoffs.
Yeah. Like
there would have been guys that I would have rather had than old Keith Kincaid. And like he's medium as a backup, but like he's borderline replacement level. And there was guys that you could have gone out and signed as a backup. Like if you had, and I know the range of available goaltenders was small, but like I would have rather had Khudobin. You toss him a little more money, come to New Jersey, play some backup there.
You know, maybe they'll claim whatever 3 goalies the Leafs put on waivers, because there's going to be at least one there, probably 2.
Do both? Obviously, McElhinney needs to go through waivers. Do both Sparks and Pickard have to go through waivers?
All 3.
Whoa.
But you just have to remember, teams don't claim guys at this time of year.
No, we have to remember Calvin Pickard didn't get claimed and then got traded for a 6th. Antti Niemi got claimed twice.
Yeah, but like not at the beginning of the season.
Correct.
So that's the thing. The Leafs are going to put they're going to put McElhinney and Pickard on waivers the night of all the cuts. And that means a team has to be convinced that they just spent the entire preseason waiving guys and keeping a guy on their roster just to cut them again.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like it probably won't happen. But I like if I were the Devils, I would claim Pickard. Like I would rather have Pickard as my backup than Kincaid.
I would, yeah. That's fair. I don't like Calvin Pickard is a guy who I loved when he was with the Avalanche. I wanted him to do well. Left, and now like last year he was the backup for an AHL team.
It's true.
Like that's not anything to get excited about if you're bringing in Calvin Pickard.
No, but I would be like Pickard's a guy that would be more likely to, like, if Schneider goes down, I could see Pickard actually, like, he could play 2/3 of the game while Schneider's out, and you'd be okay with that. I don't know if, like, Kincaid, he did it once. I don't know if he could do it again. So it'll be interesting. I'm like, we'll move on. Whatever. Like, I think we're sort of done with the Devils, but like, what do you think about like the waivers? It's interesting. Do you think there'll be too many guys? Do you think too many guys will get claimed? I always forget. Like, I never really pay attention to it because not too many guys.
No, I don't think that many will. Like, I know there was, I look at the Avalanche last year. Patrick Nemeth got claimed, stuck around with the team. It will be no one of significance will get claimed, or even placed on waivers. But if you are looking for a center in Montreal, I would be watching the waiver wire to see who's available.
So because like not too many guys ever get claimed, but I'd have to go and look. I don't think many guys get claimed at the end of. It's not like football where tons of guys are changing teams when those roster cuts come down. I think typically you see guys get claimed later in the season when there's a need, like from Vegas when all their goalies went down.
Well, that was before the season one. Well, I guess
was that
because the Subban pickup was one of those cuts, and so that was one move that they made there. So let's go to Philly. They made some big moves this offseason, bringing back JVR. The biggest move of note. They've got Carter Hart, who I don't believe is going to be getting NHL time this year. He's probably better to leave him down. Maybe, if there's some injury, give him a chance. But he's going to be starting in the A. But the addition of JVR brings this team better than they were last year. And that's a good thing.
It is. They could be a good little team. Like, this is a good division. Like, as much as we spend time talking about like what teams were at the bottom of the division in the Atlantic, I'm just like sitting here. I'm like, okay, I know what 2 teams are at the top. I know what 2 teams are at the bottom. And everyone, like those 4 teams, it's probably like, I don't know if Carolina's in that, but like Philly, Columbus, and Jersey. I don't think so either. But like they're not. I don't think Carolina's as bad as the Islanders or the Rangers, though, right?
No, those are the bottom 2 for sure.
So it's just, Yeah, I think Philly. Yeah, I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think it all like for the last 27 years we have talked about that the Flyers need a goalie. They need a goalie again.
Still need to sort that out. Worst thing about the Flyers this year will be Gritty the mascot. That will be the worst thing about the Philadelphia Flyers this season. Columbus.
Does this team not still have Radko Gudas?
That's fair. You know who I so wish he wasn't so dirty? Radko Gudas. I love that guy. But I stopped trying to defend his actions so long ago.
He's a good defenseman. Terrible person.
If he could just stick to playing hockey, I would be so much less sad.
Terrible person on the ice. I don't know anything about Radko. What's his name? Radko?
Yeah, nailed it.
Radko Gudas. I don't know anything about him off the ice. On the ice, super dirty.
Yeah, not nice. Columbus spent their offseason not figuring out what to do with Artemi Panarin. And so with him and Sergei Bobrovsky set to be unrestricted free agents at the end of this season, this feels like the window is near. You need to decide if you are the Columbus Blue Jackets and you are in a wild card spot on the trade deadline. Are both of those guys on your team the next day?
If you're not in a playoff spot?
If you're in a wild card. So let's say you're in the last playoff spot on trade deadline day.
How many points do I have up?
1.
I'm trading both of those guys.
You have 5 points up.
I'm asking Panarin if he'll sign an extension. And then if he says no, I'll probably trade him.
See, this is my thing. No one ever does this because, but you need to know when you have a legitimate shot. If your goal is to create excitement in your fan base and just be in the playoffs, then sure, do that. If your goal is to win a Stanley Cup, you're not winning a Stanley Cup this year, Columbus. You'll be on the fringe of the playoffs. I would probably have you as you are that team that's fighting with Florida for that last playoff spot in my books.
Yeah. They're probably going to be a playoff team, but like no GM trades away their best player when they're in a playoff position. It just doesn't happen. And so, but like I'm totally of that mindset. I would be the most hated GM if I was ever a general manager because like I would not be afraid to, if I'm in a playoff spot, but like I look at my team, I'm like, we're not winning the Stanley Cup. I wouldn't be afraid to trade a guy that's about to walk away as a UFA. Just be like, let's get some good pieces, man. Because someone would give up a lot for Panarin.
Yeah, you'd get the picks, you'd get the prospects, you'd get a roster guy, everything everyone wants in a trade.
It would be great. But yeah, I think they're a playoff team. I think they're a wild card team, just like you. I think Carolina's out.
Carolina, I think, is out. They'll be better than they were last year. They've added Dougie Hamilton. Doug Peters is no longer there, but the management in place, the coaching staff, I don't really have that much more excitement for.
Isn't it Rod Brindamore?
Yeah.
That's not going to go well. I just don't feel like that's going to go well.
Yeah, that agreed. But
Scott
also,
Darling's not good.
But Cam Ward's not there either. Maybe he's the problem.
Cam Ward?
Yeah.
Do you think Peter Mrazek's going to solve all their issues?
Peter Mrazek is the Band-Aid that Carolina needs. Goaltending was terrible last year. It can't be worse.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like
they're still not a playoff team though. Like
no, and like they made like the Jeff Skinner trade doesn't make you better as a hockey team.
No.
So yeah,
but
I have them out.
But they pulled one over on the Flames.
Yeah, they won one trade, lost another, and then there's the New York teams, and obviously the Islanders. They have a good coach in Barry Trotz. He's there now. They have a GM who's quickly having his reputation fall apart in Lou Lamoriello. And they have a lot of fourth liners. They've got a lot of depth on this team. This is arguably the deepest team in the league. Unfortunately, they're deep from the bottom up. They've just got a lot of fourth line and third line players.
Like they've got the most NHLers.
Yes, there's no one that you're looking at like, that guy shouldn't be in the league. You're like, yeah, that's fine. That guy should be on everyone's third pairing. Lucas Spiza. Not anyone to get excited about.
Hosang already sent down, hey? Did you see that?
Yeah. The only reason I could defend that decision is if you just say, this is a tank year and we want him to develop and we don't want the negative bad culture to affect him and the losing ways.
He's 22. He's an RFA next year.
So are you saying that Josh Hosang maybe not good, or maybe the Islanders and him just need to part ways?
Maybe we don't know. That's like maybe he should play a little bit.
That sounds like a smart idea.
Like, what do you have to lose at this point?
Very, very accurate. Yeah.
Like throw him on a line with Ladd and Anders Lee. I don't even know what position any of these guys play because they all have everyone on this team on the list that I'm looking at has dual eligibility. So who knows what position these guys play? Yeah, but throw them on the team, throw them on a line with a couple of decent players. See what happens. What are you gonna lose? Let Barzal and Eberle take the first line, and whoever plays with them. Probably Ladd, I guess. But
it's not Andrew Ladd. That ship has sailed.
Yeah, you love Andrew Ladd.
Hey, I've given up the ghost. I still will get notifications on both times he scores goals this year. However, yeah, it's not Andrew Ladd. Andrew Ladd will probably be he'll be with Matt Martin and
Clutterbuck.
Yeah, we'll make one of them learn how to play center. That'll be their challenge for the season. Yeah,
I don't know. This team's
it's not going to be good. The Rangers,
going to be a rough year. Yeah, it's not going to be good there either.
They've got more hope. You still have hero Henrik Lundqvist until I think next year is that when he's primed to have an injury that's going to end his career. What's Henrik Lundqvist's excuse going to be when he suddenly retires?
7.5 this year, 7 next year. It's 5.5 in 2020-21.
Yeah, it's not a pre-lockout deal, but it's still a big deal. So
he doesn't if he plays this year or next year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't get if he can do whatever. Apparently you don't actually have to retire.
No, you just say you're hurt and you still get paid. They just put you on injury reserve.
It doesn't really matter when he wants. So whenever he wants to do that, he can do it.
Just walk away.
Doesn't really matter.
Team's also not going to be good. I don't
think there's any hope here.
Some defensemen that are still good. They've also have Kevin Shattenkirk. Yeah, it is what it is. This Rangers team's it's going to be a rough year. There's some exciting players. I still like Zibanejad, but on a team with not a whole lot else. If that is that the guy that you're most excited for, Mika Zibanejad, that's not good.
It's not good, man. It's not good.
So there we go. That's the Eastern Conference.
That was gritty.
Yeah.
I asked for pillowy. I'm
sorry, Joel. We don't have the Sleepless in Seattles.
This is if you've been listening all summer, and we're I'm ready for some hockey talk. You got it all right there.
We're here for you. Let's let we're long. I assume most people at this point have turned off. Let's remind everyone about the fine folks at ATB, the official bank of the Alberta Podcast Network, of the Fourth Line Podcast, and hopefully of you. Head over to atb.com/listens and find out all the things they can do for you. They've got all kinds of banking services to fit all your needs, investing, mortgages, whatever it is. ATB fourthline.com. Head over there. You can find us at Fourth Line Podcast. Our final preview is going to be coming out on Friday. We also had, as hockey season everywhere gets started up, we've had both WHL. We've had 2 WHL shows previewing the East and the West. The Fantasy Podcast had a new episode last week where we did a mock draft. It was a lot of fun. And our Fantasy League is opening up. If you want to be in that, send us a message on the Twitter, an email, mail at the Fourth Line Podcast, Facebook, Pinterest, however you wish to tell us. Let us know why we should pick you to be in the league, what you will do to make our league just a little bit better. We're drafting Sunday, September 30th at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Head on over there. Let us know. It's going to be a lot of fun. We always have a good time playing fantasy hockey with our listeners. And I think ultimately you guys have to prove to me that you're better than me because I'm the defending champ.
Yeah, he's done, but like that. I don't know. Maybe get Matt back or something like that. Doesn't he beat you normally?
Well, see, here's the thing. He always called himself the Washington Capitals of it because he would finish first and then he would lose in the playoffs, but that's not the case anymore.
It's no good.
So we don't know what he would bring. If Matt wants in, I don't know. The thing is, usually the defending champ gets an automatic entry back in. And that's me. So I guess I'm in.
There you go.
I don't need to email.
And you kicked me out. Way to go. You didn't kick me out. I'm just choosing not to be in it. I don't have time this year.
That's fair. You've got a lot on your plate, and we appreciate that you find time to chat about hockey with us, especially now that there's actual hockey things. We'll be back next week looking at the Western Conference. That'll be coming out on Monday right before games get started. We'll be playing some more practice high sticking on the Twitters as well. And next week we'll be picking some Pavel Bure's. That'll be happening. And until next week.
Boom City.